All right, it's day 4 of the bag sew-along, and before we get started today, I would like to go back and talk about the applique. On day 1, if you decided to do an applique, I had shown you how I had used the Heat and Bond Light to adhere the applique to the main front piece of the bag. After going back and examining that choice, I decided that I was going to, instead of leaving the edge raw, I decided to go ahead and do a blanket stitch around the edge to finish it. Had I used the Heat and Bond Stronghold, I would not have had to do this step, but the light does need to be would need an additional stitch to ensure that the applique would stay on the fabric. So I have attached that with a blanket stitch. You can also do a machine stitch around the edge. And if you have an embroidery machine or a quilting machine, you could also go ahead and do a decorative blanket stitch or another decorative stitch of your choosing. All right, so day 4 of the bag sew-along. We are now ready to take the main bag piece and attach the lining piece. Yesterday we sewed and basted the straps, both sides 3 inches from the edge. And those are securely attached in place with a basting stitch. And with the straps down like this and the main bag piece right sides out, we are going to slide the main bag piece into the lining piece. The lining piece will remain with wrong sides out, and so on the inside you will see your right sides. Open up the lining piece and slide the lining piece over the main bag pieces. The top edges of your bag should align. Make sure that your strap pieces are down in the bottom and then that they're not going to get sewn into this seam. Matching your side seams. Pin in place. I open up my seam allowance. Since we trimmed these, it may be difficult for that seam allowance to lay open, so you may want to go ahead and press your seam allowance open to make it easier, just like what we did in the seam sample notebook. Repeat the process on the other side with the other side seam. I'm just going to go along the top, and with my raw edges matching along the top, I'm going to continue to pin in place. Do it on the other side as well. Once you've pinned in place, you are now ready to sew along the top of the bag, a 1/2 inch seam allowance, back stitching at the beginning and at the end, and you're going to sew all the way around until you end where you started. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to pull the bag through the lining opening, and then we will talk about how we're going to finish that seam.